There are nights when power doesn't whisper, it detonates, tearing through carefully constructed lies and exposing the ugliest truths in a single merciless moment, and this is one of those nights where everything that has been hidden, buried, and denied rises violently to the surface, leaving no one untouched and no reputation intact, because beneath the polished surfaces of influence and control lies something far more volatile. Something fueled by resentment, obsession, and a relentless need to dominate, and at the center of it all stands Adam. No longer willing to play by anyone else's rules, no longer interested in half measures or quiet victories, because for him, truth is not enough unless it destroys. For weeks, Adam has been watching, calculating, dissecting every move Riza makes with a precision that borders on obsession. Because what drives him is not just suspicion, but certainty, a deep, unshakable belief that everything about her is constructed, manipulated, engineered to deceive, and that belief becomes the foundation for something far more dangerous, because once Adam decides that someone is a threat, he doesn't just confront them, he dismantles them piece by piece, and the evidence he gathers is not accidental, it's methodical. Each transaction traced, each secret meeting noted, each hidden connection exposed and catalogued until it forms a pattern too clear to ignore, too damning to deny, and yet even as the truth takes shape, something inside Adam refuses to settle for simple exposure. Because this isn't just about revealing what Riza has done, it's about forcing her to face it in a way she cannot control, cannot spin, cannot escape. That is what makes his plan so ruthless. Because Adam doesn't choose a private confrontation, doesn't seek a quiet resolution, doesn't even consider the possibility of restraint. He chooses spectacle, he chooses a stage where every secret becomes public, where every lie collapses under the weight of undeniable proof. And the setting couldn't be more deliberate, a lavish gathering filled with the most powerful and influential figures. People who thrive on perception, who understand the value of reputation, who know that one moment of weakness can destroy years of carefully built authority. And Adam knows exactly what he's doing by bringing the truth into that space, because humiliation, when witnessed by the right audience, becomes irreversible. The moment he takes control of the main screen, everything shifts. At first, there's confusion, a ripple of uncertainty as conversations falter and attention is drawn toward the sudden interruption. But that confusion doesn't last long, because what appears next is too clear, too undeniable: images, recordings, messages that piece together a story no one was meant to see, and the room begins to change, the energy tightening, the air growing heavier as realization spreads from one person to another, because this isn't gossip, this isn't speculation, it's evidence. Raw and unfiltered, and as each new detail emerges, the illusion surrounding Riza fractures, revealing something far more calculated, far more dangerous than anyone expected. And yet, she doesn't break. That is what makes the moments so unsettling. Because while the room freezes in shock, while whispers begin to form and judgment settles like a weight over the crowd, Riza stands at the center of it all with a composure that feels almost unnatural, her expression not one of panic or desperation, but something colder, sharper, something that suggests she has already accepted the exposure and is now deciding how to respond. And when she laughs, it cuts through the tension like a blade, not because it's loud, but because it's controlled, deliberate. A refusal to be reduced to the role Adam has forced upon her. But control, in a moment like this, is fragile. And it shatters quickly. Because what begins as defiance escalates in an instant, Riza moving toward Adam with a speed that catches everyone off guard. The impact of her strike echoing through the room like a warning that this is no longer contained, no longer just a public unraveling, but something far more volatile, and the line between exposure and violence disappears completely when she grabs the glass, when it breaks. When the sharp edge becomes an extension of her fury, and suddenly the entire atmosphere transforms, fear replacing shock, chaos replacing order. Because now the danger is immediate, tangible, impossible to ignore. The crowd reacts too late. Because in that moment, everything is balanced on a knife's edge, literally and figuratively, and Adam, instead of retreating, instead of de-escalating, does the one thing that ensures there is no turning back: he pushes further, challenges her, forces the confrontation to its absolute limit, because for him, this has never been about safety, it's about outcome. And if the only way to force the truth out is through pressure, through provocation, through complete emotional collapse, then that's a price he is willing to pay, even if it puts him directly in harm's way. And that is exactly what happens. Because Riza, cornered in a way she has never been before, stripped of control, stripped of narrative, reaches a breaking point where silence is no longer an option, where denial is no longer sustainable, and what comes out is not measured or strategic. It's explosive, raw, a torrent of admissions that spill out under the weight of everything she has tried to contain, each word not just a confession, but an act of defiance, as if by owning the truth in that moment, she can reclaim some part of the power Adam has taken from her, but in doing so, she seals her own downfall, because there is no coming back from that level of exposure, not in a room like this. Not in front of people who understand exactly what those admissions mean. Security moves in, but the timing is wrong. Because tension at this level doesn't dissipate cleanly, it fractures, it lashes out, and in the struggle that follows, control is lost completely. Movement becoming erratic, unpredictable, and it only takes a second, a single miscalculation, for the situation to tip from dangerous to irreversible, the sharp edge finding its mark. The moment freezing as the reality of what just happened settles over the room. And the sight of blood against the polished floor transforms everything, turning spectacle into consequence. Turning strategy into something far more brutal. Silence falls in a way that feels absolute. Because no one expected it to go this far. No one expected the truth to come at this cost. And yet, there it is, undeniable, irreversible, staining not just the floor but the entire moment with something that cannot be undone. Riza is restrained, but even then, there is no surrender in her expression, no regret, only a cold, unyielding hatred that suggests this is not over. That whatever has been exposed tonight is only part of a larger conflict that has yet to fully unfold, and that look, more than anything else, lingers, because it carries a promise of retaliation, of consequences that extend beyond this single event, beyond this single act of violence. And Adam, despite everything, despite the injury, despite the chaos he has unleashed, stands in the aftermath with a sense of grim satisfaction. Because from his perspective, the objective has been achieved, the truth has been dragged into the light, stripped of protection, stripped of illusion, and even though the cost is written in blood, even though the fallout is only beginning, he does not look like someone who regrets the path he chose. He looks like someone who knew exactly where it would lead and decided it was worth it anyway. But the aftermath is where the real consequences begin. Because exposure does not end conflict, it escalates it. Because humiliation does not erase power, it transforms it. Because violence, once introduced, does not simply disappear, it echoes, it spreads, it reshapes everything it touches. And as the room slowly begins to breathe again, as reality reasserts itself in the form of authorities, consequences, and irreversible damage, one truth becomes impossible to ignore, that this was never just about one person falling, it was about shifting the balance. About forcing a change that will ripple outward into every corner of their world, and the question that remains is not whether the truth was worth it, but whether anyone involved is truly prepared for what comes next. Because in a game like this, victory is never clean, and the cost is never final.